The wheel standing blown two-wheel drive trucks are coming up next. The E3 Spark Plugs Lucas Oil Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Mack Trailer, is where we're at. The TS Performance sponsored machine here right off the bat is going to kick things off. Keith Long behind the wheel. The Riding Dirty truck goes 3:20 and 78.
Now that's going to make people scratch their heads when the first one out of the gate gets over 320 feet out there. Look at this shot, a nice straight path down the track for Riding Dirty, and that's what you got to do if you want to put up the big distance.
And yes, your eyes were not deceiving you. There's actually 3 pulling tracks here at this event. It is a busy place, to say the least, but Keith Long definitely sending a message out to the rest of the category with that TS Performance truck that the Riding Dirty is ready to rock and roll here tonight.
And so many notable names in the category. Back-to-back champ John Muma finds himself in the 4th hook point tonight. Young Grayson Shelton really picking up a head of steam last season and doing well. And then, of course, you've got Donnie Sullivan, who's having a great year in Big Ed Red. And, of course, the reigning champ, Bethany Nelson, will be one of the last hooks of the evening.
The Nelsons have been dominant here in this category as of late. We'll find out how Taz Toy does. Irv Clark back behind the wheel. Love the name of the truck. The truck looks great as well. And the Taz Toy will finally set that front end back down on the ground for good at 3:08 and 48.
It's always interesting in this class to watch the different driving styles that you see in here. Some guys are the wait some more for it to hook up to the track before they go full throttle. Some guys just hammer down right off the line to get up that awesome ground speed that they need.
With 2 trucks here in the category, Keith Long came out with the Riding Dirty first. Unfortunately, did not have much time to go back and hop inside of the MAV TV sponsored machine. And it never really picked up the front end till right at the very end, and his distance is going to be shorter, 293 and 51. Almost sounded like it might have been a different gear, so maybe he did try something here. It just didn't pan out for him.
When it seems like it's a continuation of the problem that they had on day one here, it looks like they're still shooting ducks out there. Like maybe they've still got some kind of timing issue or some kind of ignition issue out there where they're not fully getting the fuel burn up in the engine out there and really getting the most out of their minor brother's engine.
Yep, maybe just trying to get through the weekend here, earn as many points as possible, and then get back to the shop and get everything perfect. The next competitor up is a tough one in the category. You talked about in the multi-time champ, John Muma. As the top goes up on that truck, we'll turn John loose. He will be a good gauge at how that 320 mark was in our first hook. Boy, it kind of hopped, and then the second time it planted the rear tires, picked up the front end, and went out of the gate. 3:28 and 12, we have a new leader.
And I think John Muma really finding his stride here. In Saluda, he took a 3rd. Day 1 at Franklin, 1st. And now, look at this amazing pull. Just a great angle there, the front end up the whole time down the track. Perfect weight placement of that 6,200 pounds. He's found it here with After Midnight.
Of course, he'll be able to take that information and go back into the Nelson camp and share that with them, which will certainly make them tough here a little bit later on. Tim Messer coming up next. Wide Open is the name of the truck. Just an absolutely gorgeous looking Chevy. It happened a little bit later in the effort, but finally picked up that front end and planted those rear tires. 3:10 and 22, good enough to go into the top 3. Let's check in with Crash.
So we're coming up on the end of the night, and John has decided, what, float this finish? Yeah, the multitasking is starting to get to an end for me tonight here at TS. The two-wheel drives have had a hard last couple of weeks. Late in the evening, they did tell me there was some radar coming in. We've had a couple of really hot trucks, the TS Riding Dirty and John Moomaw, past champion, out there at 320. I think they'll all fill in right there at 300, 322, maybe 325.
And so a smart move here because we don't want to have too many of them in the pull-off. No use to wear out that machinery out there, especially with the thought of impending weather coming this way.
Grayson Shelton, the Sawmill Express. Wow, and that thing got really ugly. Unfortunately, they just did not have weight placement where they needed it on that truck there tonight, and Grayson had to hold on. 297 and 73 will keep him out of the top three. We'll be right back to Franklin.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. Speedco Truck Lube and Tires, built for speed, staffed for quality, delivering world-class value. And by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
And you can see Lisa Tatum backing her father Tony up to hook up to the sled here at the E3 Spark Plugs Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Mack Trailer. Tony Tatum, who had a really good start here to the 2015 season. Crash, you have more.
Guys, there's a pretty big hole right off the starting line on the right side of the lane. So I just talked to Lisa Tatum, and she's lining her dad up about as far left in the lane as possible in order for him to get the straightest shot up to the top end.
This is where that crucial track position helps. And if there's a hole over there on the starting line, they're not going to get that hole shot that they need to get that heavy sled going.
And Tony really hanging it out. He's not afraid to go to the throttle on that thing. 311 and 84 will be good enough to put him into the top three as of now.
So a good shot for Tony, and that's going to mean even better news for Lisa as she's coming up next in the category, and so she'll be able to benefit from all the knowledge of Tony's pull. Let's take a look at it once again here. As you can see, slow and steady off the line, and then the butterflies on the injector hat open all the way up, and you can see he went full throttle there about the 150-foot mark to help his effort.
Truck wandered off to the right, brought it back to the left. Could have cost him a bit of distance there, but a really good effort out of the Parts City back machine. You mentioned Lisa is coming up next. Of course, Tony's daughter, as we saw her a moment ago, backing him up, and she is a former class champion. Full throttle, the name of the truck, as she gets settled in here. Wow, and that thing really launched back. You can see the tension on that truck, and 297 and 90 will be the distance.
Just really unfortunate here. Maybe made a little too many changes here to her setup. Let's head down to Terry in the pits.
Watching Jeremy Nelson walk around, up to the track, back to the pit, back to the truck, up to the track. What's going on?
Just trying to check out the track, see what's going on. It looks like it's holding together pretty good, but we got several before we hooked. John's just made a blister and 328 run, so he's sitting in the lead. So hopefully the track holds and we can get out there and join them.
I noticed you haven't come to me for any advice since the opening round.
Well, you never know. The night's still young. We're pretty late in the class, so I might be looking for you before the night's over.
All right, Jared Nelson is coming up next. Of course, John Moomaw, who is our current leader, no doubt has filled the camp in with the necessary information, so we'll see what they can do with it. Also nice to see the Boyd & Sons machinery on the side of that one. When it just never really lifted the nose a bunch. I mean, it kind of carried it a little bit, but Not the distance he was hoping for at 3:05.09. It's strong, but it's not up there in the top 3.
And you know, Jared Nelson had such a good season, going so far a 5th, 4th, and 2nd in the first 3 events, so it's crucial he keeps some of that consistency.
We saw Tim Messer out here a few moments ago in the truck called Wide Open. This one is called the Driller. Messer currently inside of that top 4 at 3:10. Front end way up in the air, wrinkling up those tires back there, digging for every last inch. Goes 3:09 and 78, just a little bit short of his previous effort.
Jamie Mattingly will try his hand at the track now with the truck he calls Spike, one of 2 of the Mattingly trucks in the field here tonight.
And Mattingly falls just short of that top 5 with Spike at 3:08 and 86.
And boy, they're really starting to stack in all around the same cluster. We're talking about 3:08 to 3:11 here with Tony Tatum right on the edge of that podium, holding on to 3rd right now. These guys really, they're watchful eyes out here, learning from each competitor that goes and learning something new about the track to make adjustments to their machine to try to get themselves up on the podium.
Stay with us. We have a lot of action coming your way. One of the Shelton gang is up next. See if he can enter the top 3. And once again, welcome back here as you take a look at that General Tire sponsored machine here at the E3 Spark Plugs Lucas Oil Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Mack Trailer. This is Reese Shelton behind the wheel. We saw his brother Grayson a little bit earlier in the pole. And 3:10 and 97 is enough to knock Tim Messer out of the 4th position, but just misses the top 3 by about a foot.
And it was interesting, he did a little bit of a slingshot move there from that left sideline over to the center of the track to try to find some new ground.
Stimulus package is up next. Chris Smith doing the driving duties. Boy, and he is going to land inside of the top 5 and knock Messer down one more. 3:10 and 28, just a little bit better than that 3:10.22, definitely sub 1 inch.
And just an 8-inch difference from the stimulus package run to that of the cutting edge truck.
Once again, let's check in with Crash Gladys.
Franklin, Kentucky seems to be a place of some, well, interesting weather, shall we say. And last year was crazy. This year, so far, at least today, was crazy. How can you go off notes from the past when the weather changes on a dime?
It changes on a dime, but we were here last year when the weather, it rained, you know, an hour before the pool. They worked and worked and worked and got it ready for us. Pretty much the same scenario today. We got a pretty good plan for tonight, I think.
And you're just going to keep it at that? You're not going to give me a little secret?
I would really rather not. Maybe another day.
Everything held so tight to the vest in this category because the competition is so close.
Oh, and a really nice effort here late in the class. That will put him up into the top 3. Jim Mattingly with the Thor goes 3:18 and 64. Just a little bit behind Keith Long, who went 3:20 and 78.
And that's probably one of the best passes we've seen out of the Thor truck all season, as he hasn't finished inside the top 10 yet.
Incredible effort. There's still a number of good trucks, though, left inside of this category as Donnie Sullivan comes up here. And the name of the truck, Big Ed Red. And the Big Ed Red truck goes 3:20 and 51. That is 2.5 inches short of taking over second place from Keith Long.
And Donnie Sullivan and the Sullivan pulling team really have this Big Ed Red truck dialed in this year. They've been on the podium once with a second place finish, a 6th and a 7th so far on the year, just running so good. And how about it? He goes back to the center of the track where we saw some good early runs. It's not that pretty out of the box, but look how he picks up the front end and carries it the length of the track once that box tops off and the full weight of the sled is on the hitch.
The top three are locked up pretty close, especially second and third. We'll find out if anybody else can jump into the pack when we come back.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, brought to you by General Tire, 100 years of adventure. Ion Camera, the lightest, fastest, fully waterproof HD action camera on the market. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
We're back here at the E3 Spark Plugs Lucas Oil Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Mack Trailers. We take a look at another one of those Nelson Camp machines, and these guys know what it takes to win a championship as they are the reigning class champs. We had a chance to speak to them about the challenges of the class.
In our class, driving is everything. I mean, to hook those two little tires to the track with, 2,800 horsepower is just a huge challenge. And that's why I think in our class, how you come off the line the first 75 to 100 foot is where you win the pull at. And we just can't come out and lay on it, or you just like on ice. If you just floor your car on ice, you're not going to go nowhere. You kind of got to ease into it. And then when you feel it starting to go, then you just give it the rest of the power. But it's just a big finesse game on how to come off the line. And that's the biggest challenge with our class, is driving it off the line. I mean, you can have the truck set up perfect, but if the driver doesn't drive it right, you're not going to win.
Jeremy Nelson, Midnight Gambler is the name of the truck. We saw Jared Nelson a little bit ago miss it at 3:05.09, given the information that they no doubt have. But Jeremy puts it to good use here at 3:21 and 99 and takes over second place.
Talk about being dialed here, third on the first night of action. And look at this. That huge arch, just letting it float, because he knows once he gets past the 320-foot mark, those white lines end, and if he happens to maybe go technically out of bounds, it doesn't count. So a very smart move on his part, just letting it float on out there past the end of those white lines.
And there's one more Nelson left here in the class. Yes, this is a 4-truck team, including John Muma, and this particular driver is the reigning class champ, Bethany. And she goes 3:13 and 22. That is a solid effort and good enough to put her into the top 5.
And it got a little choppy between like the 50 and the 150-foot mark there as she tried to hook up the Sweet Revenge truck. Got a little hoppy on her, drove right through it, and was able to smooth it out.
Wow. Tough class here. Just when you think you might have a podium finish, the last trucks in the category all step up. Wesley Foster, final truck here, barbed wire. And a beautiful job out of Wesley Foster as he is able to sneak by Bethany Nelson with a barbed wire at 3:15 and 54.
And man, that was just a good-looking hook from beginning to end. Just really hooked up hard off of the starting line, was able to get that good transfer of weight to those rear tires and then put the front end up to move him up. He'll finish 6th on the night. But how about it? John Mumon, Jeremy Nelson, the 1-2 punch, and then Keith Long, the early hook in the class, was able to hang on and stay on the podium.
Such a tough category, and it is a huge class as well. But all said and done, it's John Mumon and Jeremy Nelson who stand first and second.
You know, it's always a pleasure when you got the Mumas and the Nelsons up on the stage all at one time. Jeremy Nelson taking second place overall, and I'll tell you what, you had a big conference with your father-in-law just before going out on the track.
Yeah, we always talk everything over. You know, he made a good shot early, and we kind of went off him and hoped the track would hold. I think it held pretty good. We just didn't quite have it to catch him, but he was on his game this weekend, so we'll take second behind him any day.
Tell you what, I was talking to John Muma right after he got done, and he said, yeah, it's a pretty good run, but there's a whole lot of really good trucks still to come down the racetrack, and you know what? It held.
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of stuff back there, real good stuff, and I didn't know whether that would hold up, but I knew we made an awful good pass when we made it, and I stick to death that we done as good as we did.
A great effort for that team, and John Mumon just slightly takes the lead early on in our point standings with just 4 events in the slopes. Johnny Sullivan second and Jared Nelson holding on to third. Let's head back down to the podium with 4th place in points, Keith Long.
Well, guys, we knew Keith Long was going to be either a hero or a zero tonight, running 1st and 3rd in the lineup. Typically, that's not real lucky, but at least your first truck got down pretty well.
Oh, the TS Performance Riding Dirty just made a super run. I couldn't turn it down. I had to take that pass, and you know, we was taking a chance the track getting better, but it can always go worse or go sour, and I think the track stayed even all night. We just got beat.
You got beat, but at least you're on the podium. You beat a lot of others.
That's true. That's true. And the MAV TV truck, I don't know. We had some ignition problems. It laid down on me, and it was kind of telling us last night that it had a problem, and we wasn't listening. Now that I think about it, so we'll get that straightened out. We'll be ready to go next pull.
It was a great time out here at Franklin. We hope you enjoyed all the action as well, courtesy of the Super Farm tractor and the modified 2-wheel drive trucks. For Terry Boyd, Crash Gladys, and Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.